some news about what's happening over in the UK.
Yeah, and it's not good news at all, but at least it looks like something is being done about this. The UK government is hosting the 4th and biggest ever international conference on the illegal trade of wildlife. The conference brings together global leaders to help protect the world's most endangered species from the threat of extinction. Now, more than 1,000 delegates from around the world, including 24 African nations, are going to be attending this conference over the next 2 days. Our UK correspondent Olly Barratt has arrived. He's there at the conference ahead, of course, of everybody as usual. Olly, good morning. It's a very important conference that's happening here, and it's coming at a time when it looks like the world is not winning the battle against poaching of endangered wildlife species.
Exactly right, and the emphasis of this conference really looks at that and wonders why the world hasn't been able to get on top of this problem yet. And one of the suggestions that's going to be made here in London today is that actually a bit of a change of emphasis is needed, that actually the illegal wildlife trade should now be looked at as more of an organised crime, a global organised crime that can be cracked down on, that you need to not just stop the poaching of animals, you need to really crack down on the flow of money that comes out of the illegal wildlife trade. So that is one of the things on the agenda here today, is to try and get much more international cooperation in that regard, to yes, try and tackle poaching and problems like that at source, but also to try and crack down on the flow of money that comes out of the illegal wildlife trade and moves around the world. The British government believes that if it can get international cooperation on that issue, then it will be able to make much more progress with its international partners. It's also seeing a shift in the UK aid budget. Much of that international aid that goes out to African countries particularly will now be used to do things like train law enforcement agencies in African countries to help them get on top of this problem at source, but also to try and focus on cracking down on the flow of money that comes out of the illegal wildlife trade. And it's a huge amount of money. We're talking about, according to organisers here, a trade that's worth around $23 billion annually.
And we know that here in Africa, we really bear the brunt of most of the poaching. African elephants, in parts of Central Africa in danger. We've had our fair poaching of the rhino here in this part of the world. I think the biggest challenge they're going to have to come up with, maybe, I don't know if it's going to be discussed, is how you close down these markets that need or demand the supply of ivory, rhino horn and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's central to discussions here today as well, and that's related to that idea of cracking down on the flow of money. It's the demand that needs to be addressed too. That involves, according to organisers here, not just law enforcement, but public education programmes in parts of the world where some of the products that we're talking about that come from the animals like the African rhino, the African elephant, but other endangered species as well, trying to educate the public in parts of Asia, for example, that actually they shouldn't be buying these products in the first place. They don't have the medicinal or cultural benefits that they are claimed to have. And if that can be woven into the response from international countries here today, I think the thinking is that some progress can be made. But we have had conferences like this before, and the criticism of them is that they are a talking shop, that actually not much changes after leaders get together. But there are leaders coming from all over the world to try and solve this problem here today. We, of course, have Prince William kicking things off in a couple of hours with a welcome address. He hosted a reception party at the palace last night as well. We have the President of Botswana. We have the President of Uganda in town. We have Derek Hanekom, the South African Tourism Minister, in attendance too. So really, stakeholders are coming from all over Africa, all over Asia, those two crucial regions when it comes to the illegal wildlife trade. And we're told here that there are as many as 650-odd species around the world which are currently endangered because of the illegal wildlife trade. But we're also told here at this conference that that doesn't just mean that those species are endangered. It really has a huge impact on local communities around the world in places where this poaching is taking place.
Well, thank you very much, Olly. We're going to have to wait and see if this time it won't just be a talk shop, that it will produce pragmatic solutions to resolve this problem. We'll touch base with you, I'm sure, after the end of this two-day conference. That's our colleague and correspondent in the UK, Olly Barratt, ahead of this international conference on stopping illegal wildlife trade.